AllBall TV.
They scared, but I'm not.
They don't like comentario.
Y suscribe.
Yeah. You know who I be. No doubt about it. Let's get right into it. Another LeBron James link to gambling. We saw this a couple weeks ago. We touched on it. Charles Barkley laughing at the fact that addiction has something to do with gambling problems in this country, and especially being tied to the NBA's current news cycle. Just funny in itself. But let's get into the latest bit of gambling news linked to LeBron James.
Into how the NBA's investigation to allegations of illegal gambling could be growing. The league is reportedly requesting access to cell phones and documents from multiple teams, including the Lakers. The Lakers have a special interest in this case. Charges were filed against Damon Jones, a former NBA player, and LeBron James, former shooting coach. Prosecutors say Jones used his inside information to share team secrets with bettors. Jones pleaded not guilty to multiple conspiracy charges. The NBA's expanded investigation also follows federal charges filed against Terry Rozier, a player, and coach Chauncey Billups. Both have denied the allegations against them. So for more, let's bring in ESPN sports betting reporter David Purdom. So David, thanks for joining us. What do you make of the reports where the NBA is now asking for more cell phones?
Yeah, they hired an independent law firm to investigate the allegations that were laid out in that federal indictment that was unsealed in late October. My understanding is that asking for cell phones and to preserve records is kind of standard protocol in these types of investigations. So I think the NBA is just going through its process and trying to stay ahead, make sure there's no more surprises.
So with the investigation expanding, is it possible we see more indictments?
Oh, absolutely. It's certainly possible to see more indictments, more names could be revealed. Now, whether that's a superseding indictment attached to this one or a separate one is still to be seen. We are aware of an investigation out of the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. That one is centered on alleged point shaving in college basketball. It's believed some of the same bettors that were named in the NBA indictments may have been involved in the college basketball case. So, yes, these cases are not over by any means.
You've covered sports betting for more than a decade. Do you think these charges impact the way we look at professional sports?
Yes, in the short term, I expect fans will be a little more skeptical that events they're seeing may be compromised for gambling purposes. But in the long term, I think people will kind of move on, settle back in, and realize these are far and few between. If you'll remember, about 18 years ago, an NBA referee admitted to betting on games he officiated. In terms of a betting scandal, it really doesn't get much worse than that. And here we are a couple decades later, and the value of NBA franchises are at an all-time high. And basketball remains extremely popular in the U.S.
And then what about the sports betting industry? Do you think this case will put a stain on that industry?
I do. I think the rash of betting scandals we've seen over the last month certainly do not shed the betting industry in a positive light. Proponents of the industry are going to say, hey, the visibility that we receive from legalization and regulation is what's allowing us to detect these type of incidents and catch them. If these were happening in an offshore sports book or a corner bookmaker, we may never have seen it. The other side, however, is though the way that the betting market has taken shape in the U.S. with these big menus, very expansive, where you can bet on every player and almost every statistic. There's some things people believe that is almost creating incentive to try to compromise things like that, bet types that are vulnerable with big limits. So there's a little bit of positive, a little bit of negative with this legalization, and I think that's something the industry wants to figure out.
I mean, these alleged mob ties have really captured people's attention. Were you surprised by seeing the mob possibly involved here?
No, not surprised with the mob connected to sports betting. Organized crime is always kind of trafficked in the sports betting world. I am, however, super surprised to see that these well-paid athletes are getting wrapped up in these schemes. Now, that's pretty stunning to me that they'd risk their career to allegedly participate in a gambling scheme.
And that's where I'm always going to be confused about, where people don't understand how people athletes or anyone could get tied into gambling, it's it's not a part of recent human American athletic culture. This is gambling is a part of so many cultures. I'm Dominican. Sangre cibao, nunca tirao, busca mi lao. Like it's a part of the whole thing. Every single corner, you will see a billboard, an advertisement for the lottery. That's gambling. The number runs. It's ingrained in our culture. Everybody's culture. It's not just an American thing. It's not just a Western thing. It's not an Eastern hemisphere thing. This has been going on. It's in all of the religious documents, religious paperwork. Um, Without getting too deep into that, of course, we have to talk about also just how prevalent it's always been in sports, along with the fact that you do have guys tied into or tied with LeBron James into this. One of them being Maverick Carter, a the manager for I don't want to say Clutch Sports, but he's been involved with some sacrimonious illegal bookmaking apparently. But here's a report from 2 years ago. Maverick Carter, LeBron James manager, used illegal bookmaker. Maverick Carter, the manager for the Los Angeles Lakers star LeBron James and a business partner of his, told federal agents in 2021 that he had bet on NBA games through an illegal bookmaker. The Washington Post reported Thursday. In his admission in November 2021, Carter told federal agents that he could not remember placing any bets on the Lakers and denied placing bets for others, according to a report summarizing the interview that was reviewed by the Post. In 2021, and before 38 states and the District of Columbia legalized sports betting, Maverick Carter was interviewed a single time by federal law enforcement regarding their investigation into Wayne Mix. Mr. Carter was not the target of the investigation, cooperated, was never charged, and never contacted again on the matter. According to the report reviewed by the Post, Maverick Carter said he placed approximately 20 bets on football and basketball games over the course of a year, with each bet ranging from $5,000 to $10,000. The NBA prohibits team officials and league officials from betting on league games. The National Basketball Association also includes agents in its rule, but business managers are not included by either group. So that there's a key fact in this article that's not being talked about when people mention LeBron James and these gambling links. Business managers are not included in the ruling of the NBA prohibiting players, team officials, and league officials from betting on league games. So even if he was caught betting on Lakers games, would he be charged with this? I mean, he would have to catch LeBron directly, giving him information, which would be tough. Hopefully, in LeBron's case, Knicks. This is Wayne Knicks, who they mentioned earlier, who the investigation was about. Wayne Knicks is a former minor league baseball player who pled guilty in April 2022 to conspiracy to operate an illegal sports gambling business and filing a false tax return. Prosecutors said Knicks' operation ran for 2 decades and included current and former professional athletes as clients or employees, including Hall of Famer Scottie Pippen, according to the Post, and former MLB outfielder Yasiel Puig, who changed his plea to not guilty for a federal charge of lying to law enforcement officials about sports bets he made with an illegal gambling operator. So there's just a lot of names involved, and it's going to surround LeBron James. He's a big name. This is they mentioned Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, Terry Rozier. These are the latest names that have been around in the news cycle, and we haven't seen Stephen A. Smith elbow drop LeBron James over any of this stuff yet, right? I don't think he knows more than any of us. And any little bit that we are hearing, you know, I don't think Stephen A. Smith or anyone that has an axe to grind against LeBron James can really link him to this. Damon Jones is the closest thing that they can get on LeBron because they seem to be really close. Especially when you saw Gilbert Arenas break down how Damon Jones and LeBron James and himself were gambling the night before the playoff game when Gilbert Arenas missed the free throw and Damon Jones is the last shot to win the playoff game, and he wasn't even playing the entire game. LeBron whispered to Gilbert Arenas at the free throw line, "You know who's about to get the ball to win the game." The same guy who owes you a boatload of money from last night, and that's how far back Damon Jones and LeBron go. But that's the only thing that's hot enough to involve LeBron. Um, in terms of being charged with anything. Also, the links to LeBron, they get tied more and more. And I never liked this about LeBron's partner in crime, Rich Paul, who runs Clutch Sports. I never liked when he said this on on 60 Minutes. I never liked it when he said this. I'll play the clip. I might put it in the background because 60 Minutes might clip us. So hopefully we can keep the audio. And if we can't, I'm gonna summarize it right afterwards just in case. So Rich Paul is basically breaking down how he was winning $4,000 to $5,000 a day gambling on a good day. On a light day was $1,000. Rolling dice, right? I'm gonna get into why this sounds crazy. Rich Paul is definitely a sneaky Brooklyn ninja. He is in the SBN. He's trying to make his way to the Hall of Fame. If he continues this stream and they keep going, which they look like they will, he looks like he's doing it. He's gonna be a legendary sneaky Brooklyn ninja. You can't tell me that you were just rolling dice, making $1,000 a day on a light day, and he gets into his father passing away at 19 years old when he was 19 years old. So that was, definitely a deep story. He was promoting his book there, which, as part of the celebrity thing, you always got to like create content no matter what. And again, it's a connection with people close to LeBron who are gambling. And he's telling you he's been gambling since he was a teenager. So this is ingrained in him. But again, I don't want to make it seem like he's the only one in America who was gambling at that age. A lot of us were. We definitely were. And it's just some people won't understand it. I don't really gamble like that. I don't have the itch for it. I don't get the high from it that everybody else does. I'm pretty sure if I won crazy, I think I would, but people fall in love with that. And the other thing about it is that it's a social thing and it's way more commonplace than we make it out to be because of the social aspect of it. Whether it's rolling dice, playing cards, you're chilling, exchanging information. This is a social skill that you might actually develop while rolling dice, playing cards, talking smack to each other. You learn how to defend yourself. You learn how to express yourself. These are highs and lows that athletes go through on the court where we see them take risks. If you're a Kyrie Irving who has a great handle, Russell Westbrook who has a high throttle. He has a high accelerator. He plays at a fast pace, almost without thinking. He's a reckless abandonment to him. He's a guy that will be so fun to gamble on because you never know, right? So imagine him on the court. He's a gambler. And we use a lot of these words leisurely, right? He's a gambling type of player where he gambles to get steals. He gambles on the offensive end. Josh Hart, he gambles to get offensive rebounds, and it can cost you a possession. But the high risk of it is he can gain you another possession, an extra possession on the offensive end. And I just feel like we tend to forget about this being ingrained in, you know, American sports, um, in general. I mean, we also did have Michael Jordan involved in a gambling scandal.
And of course, that much talked about visit to an Atlantic City casino by Michael Jordan on Thursday. Before the assembled media that has been covering the Knicks Bulls series, Jordan gave his version of the trip.
It's attacked in my private life, and I really didn't like it, and I don't agree with it. But I felt I need to come out and express that and tell the truth so you guys can quit hallucinating and taking it further than what it is. You know, and now you know what it is from my standpoint. Anything else that you hear is totally false if it's not to what I just told you. And that's the honest truth. And that's all I can tell you.
Gambling,
I'm not even-
thing that has escalated in a year ago when Michael Jordan made his way to Chicago Stadium. Michael, intent on ducking questions once again from reporters, did not take his usual route to the Bulls locker room in the bowels of Chicago Stadium. Jordan, who was particularly upset concerning the tone of the questions that he faced on Thursday, as Bob Detell did come out to take early shooting practice and for the first time declined to talk with us. He did not want to discuss his Atlantic City sojourn. Now, how do the Bulls and Knicks feel about Jordan's side trip? Well, here's a sampling of opinions.
It's unfortunate that it's become an issue and he's got to explain it away, but I don't think there was anything wrong with it at all.
I stay up to 2:30 in the morning myself, watching TV, and some guys, may like.
Look how they already, I don't want to say defending Michael Jordan, but it's beyond him being a cash cow, right? You see Pat Riley already, like, it's unfortunate that we have to, talk about this, and this is personal life. And again, that wasn't these aren't basketball related gambling charges or accusations. This is Michael Jordan, who during a playoff series against the New York Knicks, the Eastern Conference Finals, went to Atlantic City, which is like the mini Las Vegas for New York, especially at that time. See, now today gambling is legal, but back then Atlantic City was the only place you can really gamble the way that you do in Las Vegas, in New York, and have casinos, and just that was a real destination. And you take your family there, and that's where Jordan went during a playoff game. Now, Atlantic City is about, if you're speeding, it might take you 2.5 hours. After a playoff game, you're done 10:30 at night, 11 o'clock at night. You may be able to get there in 2 hours. You may be able to get there in 2 hours, but if I'm not mistaken, they took a limo over there. You ain't getting there in 2 hours in a limo. Unless they took a jet, which I think they probably did. And if you did take a jet or a helicopter, let's say it took you an hour and a half to get there and come back. That's what Jordan was doing on his leisure time. And you hear these guys, talking about, they're just defending Mike.
Go out. But like I say, that's his business and it shouldn't be publicized.
Something like this is overblown, and I think it hurts his reputation, especially with kids, and that's too bad.
He's going to take care of himself, and if he was out that night or not, whatever, he still came to play, and that's all that we're concerned about, and that's all anyone should be concerned about.
I don't think it had anything to do with the outcome of the game.
Off the court, it's his life, let him live it.
It kind of reminded me, and you'll have to excuse this, of when the liberals were trying to get Bork off the Supreme Court, and they went out and found out that he had rented pornography films at his local video store, and they held it against him. The liberal people, that was the kind of journalism that I kind of saw that was slanted as, and
the liberals,
there's nothing illegal. He's perfectly of age. There's, what do they want?
Phil Jackson talking about the liberals. Phil Jackson still talking about the liberals and the posses. You see them, like, they're just basically making it plain as day. And people have to understand Michael Jordan back then was as big, just bigger than LeBron. It's hard for kids to imagine that because he had most of whoever's against LeBron right now, like LeBron is a polarizing superstar, and if you love him, you love him, and there's a big, huge media following for people that do love LeBron, and then there's the other side that basically hate him, and you see it come to a head every day. People have LeBron, Michael Jordan arguments every day. People dedicate their platforms to hating on LeBron, right? Most of those people were shut down back then for Michael Jordan. And he controlled a lot of the media playing these games. He was a conqueror. He conquered the media, Nike, McDonald's, they had everything in the bag. So they had a lot of advertising money pumped into the Michael Jordan movement, the machine, so they could say, we'll pull our Nike, McDonald's commercials if you talk about Michael Jordan the wrong way, right? But I digress. Michael Jordan was attached to gamblers just like LeBron. Let's see here. He once hustled Michael Jordan and went to jail. Years later, Slim Bouler is still gasping for air. This is an article from The Athletic by Jody Balade. This is 2017. They wrote about this. Slim Bouler carted his scrapbooks to Charles L. Sifford Golf Course in Charlotte, and now he's flipping through the pages as he sits outside the clubhouse of the 9-hole course where he first learned the game that both earned and cost him so much. There's James Slim Bouler at a fancy gathering posing with Dan Marino, and there he is smiling with Larry Bird, Lawrence Taylor, Mike Tyson. Stedman, that's Oprah's old man, Bouler says, showing a visitor a picture of Stedman Graham, Oprah Winfrey's longtime boyfriend. I had Stedman out here to the golf course. Look at all these names he's mentioning, all the people he posed with. Mike Tyson, Lawrence Taylor, Larry Bird, Dan Marino. Dan Marino, Larry Bird, Lawrence Taylor, and Mike Tyson. Can you imagine who these people were in the late 80s? Anybody you can think of right now. Lawrence Taylor in the late 80s in football. I don't even know who to compare him today. But I would say as popular as Patrick Mahomes and them. Because you don't even have defenders. Or maybe as hype as the kid was that came out of Colorado from Dion's protege. That's now he's a two-way player that's playing for Jacksonville, and I think he just got hurt. You don't have defenders in football that are hyped up like the Lawrence Taylors of the world. Junior Seau was like Lawrence Taylor was big time. Mike Tyson, as big as Mike Tyson is today, the hype behind him in the late 80s was insane. It was damn near Michael Jordan. You heard Biggie, anyone, Tyson, Jordan, Jackson, any Mike. Any raw nights I perform like Mike. So there you see it. His page after page, photos of stars slipped into next to a laminated articles about the seminal moment of his life. He carries those headlines around too. He pauses his page, turning his baseball cap pushed back from his forehead. His long, spindly legs. They earned him. He's 66 years old. Here's a headline right here: Bouler drug trial. They blowed it up. Businessman Bouler indicted on new charges unrelated to check from Michael Jordan. Golf hustling credible claim. Look at this. These headlines are from 1991, where Bouler was found to be in possession of a check for $57,000. Around the same time, $153,000 in cash was discovered in his bags at the Charlotte airport. All of that eventually led to a handful of federal criminal charges, and his life story forever intertwined with Michael Jordan's. 25 years ago, which is now 34 years ago, a few months after Jordan played for the Dream Team in the 1992 Olympics, he testified for 9 minutes in Bouler's criminal case because that $57,000 check was from him, Michael Jordan. It was to pay off a gambling debt from a 5-day golfing spree at a Hilton Head Island. Jordan was never implicated in any crime, never suggested by federal prosecutors to have done anything more than hang around with an unsavory crowd that included Bouler, who pled guilty to cocaine possession in 1986. That was the same year he met Jordan and began a friendship built on golfing and betting. Bouler has been out of prison since 2000, lives in the same city where his old golfing buddy now is the owner of the NBA Charlotte Hornets, which, Jordan sold them. And there's a conspiracy behind Michael Jordan selling the Hornets that was due to a bad bet he made basically with some Chicago ballers in the financial industry. So this is Bouler complaining about Michael Jordan. You're a billionaire. I mean, you're a billionaire, and me and you are all right. They come to me to try to knock you out. I mean, you ain't got no career if I cooperate with the government. I don't cooperate. They take everything I got. They take my life for 8 years. I can't go back and get that. When I come home, what you gonna do for me? What would you do for me? You're a billionaire. What would you do for me? Bouler is prone to vague assertions and the colorful stories he tells about his life. He says he won Donald Trump's golf tournament and visited his penthouse, but the details stop there when he is pressed. He claims he was once thrown out of Las Vegas. He was once thrown out of Las Vegas, but is evasive about particulars. He repeats over and over that he bet more than $1, but less than $1 million with Jordan in golf matches over the years. He is specific when he says he believes the only reason he was targeted in 1991 for money laundering and drug trafficking charges is because he had a $50,000 check from Michael Jordan. They wanted a lie. They wanted me to say that it was tied up in drugs. And because he didn't, Bouler wonders why he's never heard from Jordan. If the shoe was on the other foot, would you have saved my life? Would you have saved my career? That's what Bouler's asking Michael Jordan. So, again, I'm only reading all this to show you this is a guy who had to testify, got locked up for cocaine possession, and Michael Jordan was tied to him. You see LeBron now, Maverick Carter has a history tied to, he's been interviewed by the feds for a case involved around gambling, sports gambling, and he swears he ain't been on the Lakers. You see Rich Paul saying, I've been rolling dice since I was 14, 15, making $5,000. A light day was $1,000. I learned from the streets. Forget about college. So the point is, everyone's tied into this because it's a part of the culture. It's not just sports culture, though. It's American culture in my book. I think we've gotten way too caught up in trying to make people more sinister than what they are, and we just forget that they're humans. Also, a little more into the Lakers, LeBron James tied up in his gambling thing. Here's an article from the Times of India. NBA gambling scandal update. Startling inquiry pulls Los Angeles team members into the unfolding web of mystery and suspicion. Los Angeles Lakers have apparently been included in the ongoing federal investigation onto sports betting and illicit gambling by prominent athletes. 6 sources told The Athletic that as part of the investigation into illicit sports gambling, the NBA has reportedly requested records and other property from many teams, including the Los Angeles Lakers. Lakers associate trainer Mike Manches and executive administrator Randy Mims are 2 of the staff members who have previously cooperated and willingly turned over their mobile phones to investigators, according to league sources. Hold up. Randy Mims? Jesus Christ. LeBron. Who is Randy Mims? Lakers associates cooperating and gambling probe. The 2 key members of LeBron James' inner circle within the Los Angeles Lakers organization are cooperating with the NBA's gambling investigation. Assistant athletic trainer Mike Manches and longtime executive administrator Randy Mims were among the Lakers' personnel contacted by investigators. Both immediately agreed to cooperate, the report said. So they immediately agreed to cooperate. If I'm not mistaken, Manchis has worked with James as a personal trainer and a performance coach for more than 2 decades. Meanwhile, Mims has spent nearly 30 years as one of James' closest confidants and served as a senior liaison across James' extensive business ventures, according to ESPN feature in January, in which Damon Jones calls Mims the orchestrator. Jesus Christ. These people talk too much, man. Holy cannoli. I discovered that in real time talking to y'all because hate to say it. I hate to say it. But Randy Mims' name comes up. Mr. Cover Up himself. DEA files show probe of biogenesis clinic surface clients not previously publicly known. A decade ago, the federal biogenesis investigation dubbed Operation Strikeout by U.S. DEA Drug Enforcement Administration agents led to the conviction of clinic mastermind Tony Bosch, a self-described biochemist, and 7 associates. For Major League Baseball, the scandal ensnared Alex Rodriguez, Nelson Cruz, and Ryan Braun, the top names among 21 players who would end up suspended and at least temporarily disgraced. But what has not been publicly known until now, found in more than 1,400 pages of unredacted federal investigative documents obtained by ESPN, are the names of other athletes and figures from world champions and boxers, wrestlers to fitness gurus and entertainers who surfaced on the investigation. Among them are former WWE star Paul the Big Show White, former boxing champion Shannon Briggs, and one of the most well-known trainers of prominent athletes in David Alexander and Ernest Randy Mims, a longtime friend and business manager of LeBron James. While reporting this story, ESPN was told by federal authorities that they found nothing to suggest that Alexander, who has trained James or Mims, provided any PEDs to any athletes. But because both had a relationship with James, their involvement in the investigation caused investigators to look at whether James might have been involved in any activity related to PEDs, and they concluded that he was not. There was never any indication that LeBron James did anything wrong. So are they just targeting LeBron James and Randy Mims? I don't know, but we all know. I don't want to say where there's smoke, there's fire, but geez Louise. They're not stopping with LeBron. There's so many connections for LeBron, and with just, I don't want to say illegal activity, but it is illegal activity. And then the names that keep popping up is the same name. Randy Mims came up twice now in 2 scandals that he'll probably skate scot-free. I don't see how they're gonna make a connection. Hopefully they were keeping the mob, the mob cover your mouth Donnie Brasco thing going. Because here's the thing. Who made this famous in the NBA to talk like this next year? Why do they talk like this? They're so scared to talk about anything in the NBA. It's crazy. Why did LeBron James start this this movement in the NBA? Why do you talk like this to players in the NBA, LeBron? It's the scariest thing of all time. Yo, they're gonna catch us talking about how I told you to, take the under on me today. Like, why does he talk like this? Why do any players follow that? Now it's stupid because you can trace anything you want with cell phones now. Also, in baseball, it's getting hot with the gambling. Emmanuel Glasse pleads guilty Emmanuel Glasse pleads not guilty to sports betting scheme. Glasse follows his teammate Luis Ortiz, who pleaded not guilty earlier this week. So Guardians closer Emmanuel Glasse pleaded not guilty Thursday to charge that he was part of an illegal sports betting scheme and was released on a $600,000 bond. The All-Star closer has been arrested by FBI agents at JFK Airport here in New York Thursday morning after flying into New York from the Dominican Republic, according to law enforcement sources. As the case continues, Glass's travel will be restricted to New York City, Long Island, and Ohio. He's from Cleveland, huh? Where did LeBron James start his career at? That's a crazy connection. But that also just leads me to this. How Paul Pierce, Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, Damon Jones, LeBron James, all these big names have been linked to gambling scandals. I want to shout out this channel is a great channel, Julian Dory. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. He has so many things broken down on his channel, and he always has this gentleman on to discuss mob-related stuff, and he breaks down Chauncey Billups and the poker scandal that's going on that's tied to the mob, and he has a lot to say. We might just sit here and watch and pause this in between, and because this is shocking.
The Mafia for years, and we're talking decades, in New York, in certain businesses, take a tax from everything. And when I say tax, they get a percentage of, and nowadays it's more like kind of seedy business. So like strip clubs, poker games, things of that nature. Back in the day, you know about regular extortion. They were extorting everybody. Now it's more or less, it's kind of a circuit group of people. They run poker, dice. This goes on in New Jersey. This goes on in Staten Island, all the boroughs. And in particular areas in Manhattan. So for instance, Greenwich Village, or one of these games was, that goes to a certain family. And they have a representation in that game. He collects, he gets a piece of every game. So like the fact that the mob's involved with this is not surprising. If you're playing at a game underground in New York, it's 99% sure there's some connection to the mob, whether it be an associate, there might be made guys in these clubs, and then there's always going to be that captain or made guy that is kind of the overseer of making sure everything runs, everybody gets paid.
What's up, guys? Thank you as always for checking out this video. If you have videos into the algorithm, that was one of the things though in the indictment that I don't want to say it surprised me, but it seemed like a little convoluted in that the way they wrote it up, and maybe they were just a little careless with how they wrote it in here. It seemed like games were being protected at the same time by multiple families. So,
well, yeah. So, and that's the thing.
So they break down how there were multiple families and how the mob is still involved in these games, and also, I guess why. But for me, it's forget it is why. It's obvious why for a lot of people in terms of they need to make money from somewhere, but the government is the government. This is known as a democracy, obviously, so the people vote for the politicians, but we're still human beings. So you're going to have people on earth that are going to exist, and they want to have power by any means. And La Cosa Rosa, that's the New York mob that run the Knicks. But La Cosa Nostra, this thing of ours, the five families, they've been around for over 100 years. And our guy here is breaking down who they're still tied to, even though you would think the mob was just gone. This guy right here is talking about, I don't even know how he exists on YouTube, who his mob ties are, but it seems like nobody even cares anymore. We're just going to let Julian Dory and them talk about how we still exist and how we got games in Greenwich Village, and you know, and we don't care because they know that we know that they know, and we don't care that you know.
Like, I think there's this premonition. I've heard it on, I'll say this real clear. In this case and the other case, some of the worst reporting you'll ever see went on with this case. I mean, it's just salacious. It's, bringing up, it's cool to say, Chauncey Billups, it was with the mob. Chauncey Billups, I could almost assuredly tell you, has never spoken to a mobster in his life. And if he did, he didn't know.
He didn't know it, right?
Maybe he took a picture with somebody or something. But like, it's not like they were calling Chauncey on the phone and say, hey, bro, you showing up tonight? Like, it didn't work like that. But yeah, I mean, these indictments can be a little like confusing because you first have to understand.
Well, how does he know that? How would he know that? Right? He's going with what they're telling him. But he has a little bit more information because I seen some of this before I played the whole thing. I seen some of this And the stuff that he's saying, we might have to drop a bomb for that.
In the background of the games and how they work. And these families work together. There's this thought in the media that they don't like each other, they're rivals. These families, they all know each other. Most of them are cool. These families aren't fighting in the street. They all know each other. They all work together. Everybody gets a piece. So like in one of the games, the Gambino and Genovese families both had representation in the game, allegedly.
Allegedly.
And like I said,
come on, brother.
If you're in the poker, underground poker scene, these games, like I said, they're all over the tri-state, everywhere. So yeah, I think kind of understanding that side, and that the people that are also involved in this are going to be some of these people are some of the biggest cheaters in the gambling world, whether it be sports betting, poker.
Like who?
For instance, Anwar Awadi is a known scam artist. He's one of the biggest cheat scam artists in America.
Also known as Flappy.
Correct.
Allegedly.
And Anwar's name popped up in the Jonte Porter case.
Oh, tell people who Jonte Porter was.
Yeah, so last year, Jonte was an NBA player. His brother Michael Porter is quite a good player. Jonte played for the Raptors. Was kind of like wasn't a particularly prominent player by any means. I think the biggest thing you have to realize about the NBA people, whether it's Jonte, Chauncey, Terry Rozier, and Damon Jones, these are all people that gamble regularly. Some of these people, Chauncey Billups has been playing poker for a long time.
Just poker, or is he
other games?
A lot of other
yeah.
things too.
Like, I'm not going to say he's played poker his whole life, but like I've heard his name over the last 5-ish years.
In what context? Just playing poker, or
no? If you really know, and any, if you're out in Vegas, LA, really wherever, I've heard that Chauncey and another individual who is not in this indictment, but I've talked about, it's a prominent NBA player. I don't mind saying his name either. They scam games. They've been scamming games for years.
We're gonna get a name.
Paul Pierce. Everybody.
So, but to say they've been scamming games puts it beyond just them playing in like some regular cheating games. They're actually like cheating.
Who did he say? Scamming games for years. Who? Who you just said?
It's a prominent NBA player. I don't mind saying his name either. They scam games. They've been scamming games for years.
We're gonna get a name.
Paul Pierce. Everybody.
So, but to say they've been scamming games puts it beyond just them playing in like some regular cheating games. They're actually like cheating. Now, when you say the cheating, because we're going to get to specifically what they did and they're accused of in this indictment, but when you're talking in that context of like Chauncey and Paul, what you had heard, are we talking regular old school like chip stacking and signaling, or are they actually using some of the things?
No, they're using, like, there could be some of that stuff, but they're using these shuffling machines, glasses, and I'm not going to say that they're like. What's interesting here is like, and this is why these indictments overlap in a way, because if you read the sports betting indictment, there's a person in it called Eric Ernest. He's also in this indictment. He's in both. Eric Ernest, from what I've been told, is a close friend of Chauncey's. Eric is pretty tied into the gambling, poker communities, everything, has all sorts of contacts. And I think that's kind of where some of the bridging of this goes, as far as, they know each other through poker and somebody knows somebody else and they say, well, maybe he'd be willing to give us something, But with poker, Chauncey's played in games. I talked to one person that told me, and in this indictment, there's a reference of a game in April 2019
in Vegas.
Correct. And this has come out publicly in the media. I posted it, and Pablo Torre then posted a day or so later that Kevin Garnett played in that game. I think he played for about an hour, and I was told that he left.
Did he win or lose?
That I don't know. But my source told me that Chauncey, quote, cleaned up in that game. Now, the same source also told me that when he had met Chauncey, he knew that he had played, but he wasn't really good at it. And then he just all of a sudden became really good at it quick,
What? See, he went from saying he didn't meet any mobster to now Chauncey Billups has been known to be scamming games on his own. See, this is when people kind of like how you gonna put that together? Where are you getting this intel, the paraphernalia to cheat? You're scamming, because if you scamming the game, you went from not being able to play poker well to being a cleanup guy on that poker table. We're talking about probability here. You just don't chance your way into being a winner like that at a poker game. You got to be really skilled or a sneaky Brooklyn ninja. Chauncey Billups. If you can skate free from this, your name can be in the rafters of the Sneaky Brooklyn Ninja Hall of Fame. Allegedly.
And it didn't make a lot of sense. And like the stuff I say about Paul Pierce, like it's not a secret. Paul Pierce plays poker. He was in ESPN when he was fired from ESPN with the strip. Yeah, he was playing a poker game. He's played at he's played on stream poker. When he plays poker, he gets drunk and acts crazy.
And there's nothing wrong with playing poker. It's a matter of if you're cheating people,
right?
If that is the case.
And there's this thought like, well, these guys make so much money. Like, why do any of this? And it's such a ridiculous point because it's like everybody gambles. I mean, Dana White is a billionaire in gambles. Mm-hmm. Some of the richest people on earth love to gamble. I think in terms of these athletes, it started as they love to do it. And when you really play poker, when you really bet on sports, most of these people are degenerate gamblers.
Yeah.
I mean,
you gotta love it. You gotta love the game to play the game the way that they play the game. Paul Pierce. We're talking about one of the great clutch NBA players of all time. Paul Pierce, Nick Killer, Chauncey Billups, Mr. Big Shot. And that's the other thing about this whole thing with gambling, right? Who doesn't want to be Mr. Big Shot? And if you can't be Mr. Big Shot, don't you align yourself with the big shot? Everybody wants to be close to the big guy. And that includes the government. That's really my whole thing with this. As crazy as Paul Pierce and Chauncey Billups, because that's bananas. We seen what's going on allegedly with the Migos, God bless the dead, where they lost a comrade in Takeoff to gambling during the dice game, where allegedly Jay Prince and them had fixed dice. Who do you attract during these games? Which brings me back to Charles Barkley getting upset with Kenny Smith about Kenny Smith saying, yo, this is all gambling addiction. This is all, if it wasn't for gambling addiction, this wouldn't really be happening. And you got the Julian Dory podcast breaking down how it basically happens. And for me, let's get into how Charles Barkley got so upset at Kenny Smith about breaking this down.
Always makes it happen, so they can speeds.
I really just want this. See, they didn't drop the ball on
First
Chauncey
of all, these are two
Billups.
different things.
Yeah,
It's two
exactly.
different things.
So they dropped the ball on Rozier.
Take Chauncey out the equation.
All right.
And the reason I'm mad at Kenny is, man, this ain't got nothing to do with damn gambling addiction. This ain't got nothing to do with addiction. These dudes are stupid. Why are they stupid? You, under no circumstances can you fix basketball games. Under no circumstances. I love to gamble. The notion, like, Rozier makes $26 million. Him betting, giving people information or taking himself out of games, how much is he gonna benefit taking himself out the game to get unders? Like, he's making $26 million. The notion he gave, how much of these guys he gave a head up, he took himself out of games on prop bets. How much money is he gonna make? Well, if he did that, you're proving my point. What do you mean? That means that's not a logical thought process. If you're
We don't even have to revisit the whole thing. What would make you get involved in something like that? Again, you're addicted to the life. You're addicted to the life, the high roller, the ups and downs of it. You want your people involved. Imagine I'm a ball player, so I'm good. How do I get my people involved in the high life? How do I get them involved? Because I don't want you to feel like you got to rely on me. Let's roll some of these dice, baby Bubba. And Barkley, well-known, publicly publicized gambling addict, allegedly. But he spent millions on that. He fails to understand just the only reason why gambling has ever existed for so long is because you have to have people addicted to it to fund the games. And in 2025, they found different ways to fund these games. And for me, my ultimate point is it's never gone away. There's no way to cure it. And the government allegedly, they want to take part in this gambling thing. I believe that this is all being publicized so crazily because the government wants in 100% on this gambling thing. They want to make sure that just like the lottery that started in 1967, was a part of the New York State Gaming Commission, and it provides a revenue for public education. It's based out of Schenectady, New York. The lottery started in the 60s after the mob ran it for years, for decades. You had the number run. We talked about this ad nauseum. But what's the difference between that and when Prohibition ended and the mob had how much money tied into alcohol? They said there was hundreds of millions of dollars tied into the number run, which is modern day billions of dollars. How much money do you think was involved with alcohol in the 1920s that the government wasn't seeing? So you have alcohol, prohibition ended. You basically have prostitution, prohibition ending, aka OnlyFans. And some of you guys may have been on the Black page back in the days. And some of you guys might know about Instagram. There's a lot of actual finances being exchanged. There's a big time money rig going on in exchange for what creates us in the first place, that SEX action. Prohibition, gambling, weed prohibition is now over. Prostitution prohibition is damn near over. All these things are taking place and the government wants in. And they're done with the gambling thing being illegal. FanDuel and these guys have so much money in the sponsorship stakes of the sports arena and almost every arena now, especially in social media. The same way we talked about how Michael Jordan with Nike and McDonald's can corner a company and lean on a company, any media company in the 90s and 80s, to get them to say what they want about Michael Jordan. So now you have the government working with the gambling company saying, hey, we don't make anything in this country. We don't manufacture anything. The only thing we manufacture is entertainment. That's the only thing we got going on. And one of the biggest, if not the biggest sponsorship to entertainment present day on a daily basis, minute to minute, second to second basis, is the gambling companies. So the government knows this and they want to make sure, let's put these high profile names in the headlines so that we can get in on these taxes and collect. Do you know who I be? Long-winded 56 minutes, but guess what? I put this together for you guys. I love you. Come check us out later. AllBall TV, Knicks Rehab, all the above. I'm out of here. AllBall TV. They scared, but I'm not. They don't like comentario.
Y suscribe.